Sequence start 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening to you. Hello, everybody out there. Let me know how my audio is, because last time we streamed a while back, it was only coming out of one side. You didn't have left and right audio, so let me know how it sounds tonight. Hello, everybody. Let's see here. Look at that. Dell Ruff starting off with a big donation. Thank you, Dell. Woohoo! Philip says, be right back, coffee. Looking forward to learning. All right. Jeremy says it's good. Mo says it's good on his end. All right, well, we will get started then. Welcome, welcome. Tonight, I am not your longtime leader, Jake Morphonios. No, tonight I am Professor Jacob von Blackstone. Why? Well, mostly because I just wanted to be silly and dress up. I still got Halloween in my system. So tonight I will be your nerdy professor as we talk about Trump's war threats against Venezuela and Nigeria, of all places. We'll talk about what he claims his military threats are about, and then we'll talk about what they're actually about. Because as we know, U.S. presidents are not the most honest of human beings. I'm hoping that we will be able to do this for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, but about 45 minutes. And then at the end of the show, what I will do is a couple of things. First of all, I will post on Substack a transcript. I have to take a few minutes after the show to go in and type this up, but I'll take a transcript of tonight's show with all of the data that I'm giving you. I will upload that to Substack. And if you're a paid member on Substack, you get access to this. Like I said, it's about 10 type pages worth of content tonight. So even if you're not going to do the paid option, follow me there on Substack. Subscribe, because the free subscription will give you occasional updates from me about my work, about when I'll be doing shows, which I'm hoping will be about 3 times a week going forward over the next few months. Yeah, Scott Harris, grab that bong. It's time to get Blackstoned. You got it, brother. Puff, puff, pass. Although not me, because I get stupid enough talking about this stuff without needing to be under the influence of anything. So I put that link in there a minute ago. It's blackstoneintel.substack.com. So the free, you get a little bit with the free subscription, but the main stuff goes to the paid subscribers. It's $5 a month. You get access to dozens of detailed Blackstone intelligence reports on a wide range of political and geopolitical topics. It's a veritable encyclopedia of counter-propaganda content to help free your minds from the lies and false narratives of the financial elite who use our politicians as propaganda puppets to program you, desensitize you to the evils that they are committing, and trick you into actually supporting the evil stuff that they do. Okay, this is an antidote to that brain poison that the media and the government feeds to you. All right? So go get inoculated. This is Blackstone authorized vaccine for your mind. And I have warp sped it for your convenience. Now, at the end of tonight's show, I'm going to draw names and we're going to give out a prize as usual, and I'll get some new prizes before too long. But we're going to go with some of the standard old ones. First of all, at the end of tonight's show, one option is going to be our favorite, Jeff Epstein. This air freshener didn't hang itself. Isn't it curious how the story of Jeff Epstein has kind of disappeared from most of the mainstream coverage? I wonder how that happened. I haven't forgotten. Okay, so that's one option, the Jeff Epstein air freshener. Another option is a Free Palestine bracelet. Let's see. Another option is going to be your choice of either a free month subscription to Blackstone on either Patreon or Substack. And another option for you as a prize is I will print out tonight's transcript. It's a report of about 10 pages. I will write you a letter, sign it, and mail that to you. So any of these things will be options. Here's how you get into the prize drawing. Make a donation tonight of $5 or more if you're feeling generous. For every $5 you get one entry into the drawing. So you get your name on one of these handy dandy slips. Oh, where's my brain jar? I'll have to grab something to put the slips in at the end. One entry for every $5. So if you donate, for example, the fine gentleman Del Ruff, who made the donation of $20, he gets 4 entries. So you can donate by Super Chat. You could also, if it's more convenient for you, you could donate through Patreon, $5, Substack, PayPal, CashApp, or Venmo. And if I had time, I'd say mail me a check or money order, and that would work too. But we got to keep it digital for tonight. And you can also use that link that I posted in the beginning where you can become a new channel member here on YouTube. So any of those will work. All right. Last thing, last sales pitch for if you make a donation of $50 or more during the show, I will send to you one of 2 gifts. First of all, thank you for your support for my Blackstone work, Blackstone reporting. What I will send to you, though, is one of 2 things. Either an autographed pocket constitution that has the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Okay, this is the exact same one that you used to see people like Ammon Bundy and Lavoy Finicum and others walking around with in their pockets. Or the other thing is I'll send you a free Palestine support kit. And that support kit would come with the bracelet, a lapel pin, some literature on the occupation, some stickers, and one of these handy dandy desk flags that I've been using these on my desk for years now. So that's my Blackstone Palestine support kit for a donation of $50 or more. All right. Gina says, much thanks, Jake. And to you, Gina, thank you. R Factor has made a donation of $10. And you know what I've had sitting on my desk for the last month? I have a report that I owe to R Factor, and I have not forgotten it. Okay, that's only partly true. I have forgotten it. I haven't forgotten it that I need to send it to you. I forgot which report it was, and so I've had this sitting here, right here in front of me. So R Factor, you'll just have to let me know later on which report you want. It can either be tonight's or a different one that you've done, that I've done in the past. But I haven't forgotten you. Thank you, R Factor. Bless you, bless you. Gina says, can't stay, Jake, volunteering early at the food pantry. I'll listen tomorrow. Hey, Gina, you're awesome. Congratulations. I used to run something called the Hunger Coalition years ago up in the mountains of North Carolina. Huge, huge, huge. We did, we fed over 1,000 families a month and dispensed more than $1 million in free medicine to the low-income population up there. Wonderful work. I really, really love volunteers, people who give of their time and go out there and try and make a difference. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And as a compensation prize, if you can call it that, to anyone who does make a donation of $5 or more, if you don't win at the end, if you will email me at jake@blackstoneintel.com, I'd be happy to send you, if I can reach it. Let me see if I've got any right here. I've got these everywhere. Yeah, here's one. I'll send you a Blackstone Intelligence postcard with a little message. I'd be glad to send you that. You just have to email me and say, hey, send me one of those postcards. And give me your address, and I'll send it to you. All right, guys, you ready to begin? As I go on, if you have any trouble hearing me, let me know, okay? Because I'm just going to ramble. I'm just going to go, because I got a lot of content here I want to share with you. I love seeing you all. So glad to be back with you. I feel like I'm at home with this motley gang of Blackstoners. So let's talk about war. Since early September, the Trump administration has dramatically escalated military operations in and around the Caribbean Sea off the coast of Venezuela, right? We've got a naval buildup. At least 7 U.S. warships are down there. You've got thousands of U.S. personnel down in the southern Caribbean zone. On September 1st, the U.S. military started the attacks. They attacked and sank a vessel that the U.S. government alleged was... oh, thanks. Sorry, I need to turn off my notifications. I'm getting notifications that people are signing up for the free newsletter. Sank a vessel alleged to have been smuggling drugs from Venezuela. Now, that initial strike killed at least 11 people. And since then, Trump's military campaign has grown into a naval deployment involving multiple warships, submarines, air operations, including B-2 stealth bombers. These are the ones that we sent over Iran, bombing their nuke facilities. So, we're sending Maduro a message. Your days are numbered. Literally, that's something that Trump said. So the Trump team formally notified Congress that what the USA is doing is engaging in non-international armed conflict with drug cartels, including, and this is why Trump says he can do it, he has designated some of these drug cartels not as criminal organizations, but as terrorist groups, narco-terrorists. So this statement from Trump, he didn't think of it. It was drawn up by his lawyers who claim that he's entitled to carry out overt acts of war under the U.S. Constitution's Article 2 powers that kind of define what a U.S. president can do. However, according to U.S. and international law, this is baloney. According to the United Nations, at least 61 people have been killed in these ongoing military strikes off Venezuela's coast. Probably a lot more than that, but we know of 61. The United Nations says that these are extrajudicial executions. What does that mean? It means that they are targeted. An extrajudicial killing is a targeted killing that does not have legal authorization. There is no due process of law. Now, on the international front, as other countries look at what we're doing, this is a violation of Article 6 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Because these killings violate the state sovereignty of Venezuela. But, that's not the main concern for us as Americans, especially the further right you go, the more you're like, who cares what the rest of the world thinks? We do what we want. Go America. So from a Constitution standpoint, from the standpoint of people who used to rag on Obama for all of the bad stuff he did, here's what's concerning. 3 red flags. First of all, Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, which you will find in this if you order one. By the way, if you want to order one, you can go to blackstonemerch.com and they're $6 plus, I don't remember if I've got shipping in that or not, but anyway. Article 1, Section 8, only the U.S. Congress can declare war or authorize sustained military action. So the unilateral nature of these strikes ordered by Trump, it sidesteps that constitutional authority. I'll talk about that more in detail because, they'll say, well, what about this? What about that? The next concern, the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, read it. Does it say that this is the due process clause. Does it guarantee rights to U.S. citizens regarding due process? No. It specifically says any person. The U.S. government is prohibited from depriving any person, not just citizen, of life without due process of law. Now, in a real war, that's, there's an exception there. But when you don't have a declaration of war, when you're just going around killing people, the Constitution doesn't allow that. So these strikes that are happening are occurring without any kind of judicial review. They are violating the spirit, if not the letter, of the Fifth Amendment. Okay? Another concern from the standpoint of a traditional constitutionalist or someone who might identify as a patriot. The Declaration of Independence, right? The founders denounced the King of England, the King of Great Britain, for, quote, transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. So they were taking American sailors and others, taking them off, saying, here, we're going to charge you with this. When you have targeted killings abroad, no charges, no trial, this echoes that exact same kind of abuse of unaccountable executive power that our founders were so pissed off about. So in other words, President Trump is engaged in behavior strikingly similar to the very behaviors listed in the Declaration of Independence as among the reasons that our founders revolted against their government. So this should matter to Trump's constitutionally conscious supporters, because the U.S. Constitution vests the power to declare war in the Congress. Again, that's Article 1, Section 8. It reserves to the president the role of commander-in-chief. The executive, he executes or carries out the mandate given to him by the people through our representatives in Congress. So only Congress can say, we need to go to war, but they can't wage it. The U.S. president, in this division of power, the separation of powers, the president can carry out the war, but he cannot declare the war. So when you have an administration that undertakes sustained, this wasn't just a single strike, this is an ongoing operation. When you have a government that undertakes sustained military strikes outside of the country without a formal congressional declaration or clear authorization under the War Powers Resolution, those people out there in our American society who typically champion constitutional limits on big government, who speak out against, the deep state and all that, they should be very uneasy about what Trump's doing. They should see this usurpation of power by the executive away from the legislature and therefore away from the people as a very tyrannical step, a very slippery slope. Donald Trump is, without question, violating the U.S. Constitution in giving himself these expanded war powers. When Obama was in office, we correctly criticized him for the things that he did, including the extrajudicial killings of 2 American citizens over in, I believe they were in, wasn't it Syria? The man, the Muslim cleric, and his 16-year-old son, his son who was hit with a drone strike while he was sitting in a cafe. Even though the son hadn't done, Yemen, thank you, Philip, in Yemen. I was thinking Syria doesn't sound right. We spoke out. Me, you guys, we knew that what Obama was doing in authorizing these strikes was wrong. And we spoke out about it. Now, to those people who are now watching the guy that they elected commit unconstitutional acts, good on those who speak up and say, I don't give a crap who the president is. I don't care if it's someone I voted for or someone I didn't vote for. You are violating the Constitution, and so I'm going to speak out and criticize you for it. Round of applause for the people out there who have the integrity to do that, who put principle and the rights of the people over their favored political icon or messiah figure. Although it is unfortunately a small group of people who are willing to do that. Now, our founders feared that giving a single man, because they weren't possibly, no one was thinking Hillary Clinton might be president one day, or Kamala Harris, or heaven forbid AOC. None of them were thinking one day a woman was going to be president. So they knew that it would be a dangerous thing for a single man to have the power to declare war, rather than that responsibility being spread throughout the entire Congress to do it collectively. Because if you have a guy who can declare war, or just go to war without a declaration, that invites tyranny. Endless foreign entanglements, like was very common in the 1700s among the European monarchs. And that's why our founders looked at what was going on, seeing all of the bad that came of these foreign entanglements, because you had one guy that could decide, well, we're all going to war. And so they were very, very conscientious in the crafting of our system of government to take the power to go attack another country and split that power up between the different branches to reduce the odds of tyranny. Well, they didn't want to be like the European monarchs. So they vested the power to declare war with the Congress to ensure that decisions of war and peace would require the consent of our representatives, not that it would be the power of one guy to do whatever the hell he wanted. Because we, the people, think about this. Why? Why did they do this? Why give it to Congress? We, the people, have a greater chance of preventing an unjust war or ending an unjust war when the authorization for war is the responsibility of our congressional representatives, who we still have some small degree of influence and control over. Not totally, but you got to admit, we've got more chance of influencing your local member of Congress, your local representative, who has regional offices, in your area. You've got a greater chance of influencing that person than you do somehow having the influence over the chief executive sitting in Washington, D.C. When a president can take military action unilaterally outside of the few truly legitimate reasons to do that, specifically the necessity of immediate self-defense, because there's no time to go to Congress, because like we've been sucker punched, we need to respond immediately. That's provided for. But outside of that, if a president has the power to just take us to war whenever he wants because it suits his interests, the people virtually have no hope of being able to end the war or end the conflict. It's not in our power because we have allowed one man to take that power and assume that he knows what's best for all of us. Now, let me ask you, be honest, how many of you out there have been losing sleep at night, fearful of how soon it is that Venezuela is going to topple our government and enslave us? How many of you out there are just like terrified over Nicolas Maduro and his narco-terrorists coming through your town, raping and pillaging, stealing your frosted flakes, causing an unholy mess in your yard that you're going to have to come behind and clean up, How many of you are really worried about that? None of you, because it's not a real threat. This is a trumped up national security emergency that is being used by politicians to justify a march toward regime change in Venezuela. Why? Because the former president before Maduro, Hugo Chavez, he had the unmitigated gall to defy U.S. oil corporations and nationalize Venezuelan oil for the benefit of Venezuela. How dare he? Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran learned this sad lesson. You don't take your own country's oil and use it for your own people. What is wrong with you? Don't you know that our Rockefeller oil corporations own that? We have the rights to it because we are, our financial elites are a different breed, a different species. They know what's best for us. The world better just fall in line. Now, sure, was Hugo Chavez corrupt? Yeah, he was. He was corrupt as hell, just like Nicolas Maduro. These are corrupt banana republic dorks that have taken, they may have come in through legitimate elections. Maybe they've not sustained themselves through completely transparent elections. But, that's not our concern. It is not the concern of the United States president. It is certainly not the concern of our U.S. military, because Venezuela has not threatened to attack us. They are not attacking us. And there is no national crisis of mass drug deaths that require military intervention. It's just not the case. So building up the U.S. military out there off the coast of Venezuela while you've got Trump just laughing, bragging about regime change, this is unconstitutional. It is as unconstitutional as it is un-American. And I believe that and I think that the people who support this, even among Trump supporters, are few in number, at least in their hearts. They know this is baloney. Now, they'll champion it in social media because, you got to defend your tribe and the groupthink and all that. But they know it's baloney. Now, does that mean that we Americans have to tolerate fentanyl crossing into the USA from Venezuela? Of course not. I'm not saying we don't need to deal with the problem, but the way you deal with it matters. You deal with this drug problem through law enforcement, through government diplomacy, which can include sanctions, trade restrictions, multilateral cooperation. We solve this just like we solve every other problem in the way that a civilized nation would address a problem. You don't go and say, hey, there's a whole lot of whatever going on in that other country and it affects us, so let's go kill them. Let's go just start killing people. That's not how we do it with any other issue. What we do is we take a combination of international policing and extradition. You have the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, working with Interpol, allied governments to arrest and prosecute traffickers under existing treaties. You can make use of tools that have already been authorized by the U.S. Congress under the Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act, which is Title 21 of the U.S. Code. It already authorizes the U.S. government to seize narcotics vessels through judicial warrants and carry out prosecutions. So we can already do this. And the effort should be multilateral. You partner with regional states. And there's already an organization through which you can do that. It's called the Organization of American States, the OAS. You can work through the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to work with other nations to dismantle supply networks, to pressure corrupt officials. There are all kinds of actions that Trump and the Republican-controlled Congress can take. You don't take this lying down. If this is truly the problem that they say it is, then we deal with it, right? But you do it in a way that is lawful. You do it in a way that does not erode the rights of the people. You do it in a way that does not set some dangerous precedent for who knows who we're going to get next. Probably Gavin Newsom or someone like that as president. What if he decides that he wants to start doing this or that? He doesn't like that people are criticizing gay pride parades or something. And so he's going to dispatch the U.S. military into the streets of America because he doesn't like the way that we're exercising our speech. Kind of like how Trump has gone after people who are on college campuses speaking out in defense of Palestine, right? You know, you don't want to allow this president, whoever's in office at the time, to get away with something that is wrong, because you never know who's coming up next, how much worse they could be. And if the precedent has already been established where the American people are going to put up with this, not only is there just the precedent in general, but it sets a legal precedent too. So there's all kinds of actions that Trump and the Congress can take to deal with this that don't involve violating the Constitution and going down there killing people. Remember, the U.S. military is being ordered to kill people in these boats without even knowing the identities of the people on board. They don't know who they're killing. There are no warrants. There are no criminal indictments. There have been no attempts to capture the people on these boats, which we could do. Bring them in, check their documentation status, see who they are, see if they are from Venezuela, see if they have criminal records. All kinds of stuff you can do to try and deal with this. Prosecute them, put them away. But you know what? This past week, the Department of Defense, and I say Department of Defense, sorry folks, I refuse to go along with this ridiculous rebranding and call it the Department of War. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Bullcrap. So it's the Defense Department. Okay, the Defense Department briefed U.S. lawmakers this week on these operations off the coast of Venezuela. Multiple DoD officials admitted that nobody knows who is on these boats. They don't know the identities of the people that they are killing in the attacks. Are these people drug traffickers? They hope so. That's what they say. We hope they are. But they don't know. The Pentagon admitted that they are not, in advance of killing these people, they're not getting positive ID. It's over 60 people they've killed so far. They simply say that all they need to justify a military strike on one of these boats is that they need to have reason to believe that one or more persons on that boat has some kind of connection. And I've heard that there can be 3 degrees of separation from the person on the boat and one of these people in one of the drug gangs that Trump has fingered. No, that was not a reference to E. Jean Carroll. Given that we've got this unbelievably loose standard for what justifies killing these people down there, the odds are very high that many, if not most of these people that we're killing are fishermen or other people. Maybe some of them have loose connections to, maybe some of them are cartel members. But they don't know. That's the point. So the fact is, confirmed by Trump's own Defense Department, that he has ordered the U.S. military to continue killing people who are not known to have taken any actions against America. These people in the boats, it's not like they're out there strafing U.S. Navy vessels with, they've got their guns and blah, 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 and the military's fighting back. These are people out there in waters. Maybe they're involved in trafficking, maybe not. This is why Americans, especially Trump supporters, should speak up in defense of the U.S. Constitution and the limits that it tries to place on our presidents. Because if we're going to ignore these restraints, we might as well just let Trump and any future president do whatever the heck he wants. Just let them call themselves king, because that's what we're doing, is we create a king when you have an executive, the chief executive, who has unchecked powers that they can pick and choose what they want to follow in the U.S. Constitution, and if they don't want to follow any of it, they don't have to. May as well call him a king. Now let's talk a little bit more about Trump's cartel, about the, talking about cartels, let's talk about the Trump cartel and what their real motive is for going after Venezuela, because it's not drugs. This is not the first time that Trump has tried to get rid of Nicolas Maduro. In January 2019, as I reported extensively right here on this channel back then, Trump recognized a nobody politician down in Venezuela, a CIA-backed, literally a Freemason, because he's out there in public with his white Freemason apron on, guy named Juan Guaido. Trump recognized him as the legitimate president of Venezuela, despite the fact that Guaido had not actually won any election to the position of president. So Trump slapped sweeping sanctions on the Venezuelan state and on Venezuela's state-owned oil and natural gas company, the PDVSA. Petróleos de Venezuela, Sociedad Anónima, which means incorporated, the Petroleum of Venezuela Incorporated, okay, the state oil company. With full support from, back then, remember, John Bolton was his national security advisor, neocon poster child, John Bolton. With John Bolton's full support, Trump was going to send 5,000 U.S. troops to neighboring Colombia as part of a military operation to topple Maduro. And you might remember this if you think back. How did we learn about this? It's because that dummy John Bolton had taken notes about this plan and the 5,000 troops being sent to Colombia. He had it written down, handwritten on a piece of paper, which he was holding. He had on top of a stack of books walking around, and news media took a picture and zoomed in and saw his notes, and that's how the story began to break. Freaking John Bolton. Trump was quoted as saying this at the time. He was saying that invading Venezuela would be, quote, cool. Cool. Because Venezuela, according to Trump, was really part of the United States. Fortunately, Trump was not able to go forward with this military plan because the CIA operation kind of collapsed, but that didn't stop him from continuing to support the CIA's regime change operation as it exerted maximum pressure on Maduro. You guys remember this? Oh yeah, little Nikki Haley was in on that too. Williams got it. That's right. Back then, Trump wasn't blaming this march to war on Venezuelan drug trafficking, was he? Was he trying to save us from the narco-terrorists? No, he never brought that up. He only came up with this cover story because back then, even back then, some of his own supporters were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We didn't elect you to go warmongering into Venezuela. What are you doing? So he kind of learned his lesson. In fact, he was all too happy to pin the blame on this Venezuelan thing back then on John Bolton. He's like, oh yeah, I never should have hired that John Bolton. He was all too happy to blame it on Bolton. And of course, Trump supporters were very happy to just go along with that. Oh yeah. See, we knew our guy Trump was not doing this. We knew that it was these neocons. We know Trump doesn't agree with this. He just, and he eventually fired Bolton. So see there. Now this time around, sorry, Trump supporters, you don't have Bolton to blame for this. The buck stops with Donald Trump. And that's why so many Trump supporters are choosing to withhold their criticism. They can't support it, and they don't dare speak out against him, so they just remain silent. Because that's what, people of courage do in the face of tyranny. In 2019, gaining control of Venezuela's oil was central. That's what it was about. Had been for years. Now, if you think about it, the oil in Venezuela, it's a heavier oil. It's not the sweet crude that you get from like Saudi Arabia, so it requires more refining, the oil from Venezuela than from places like Saudi Arabia. But Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves of any country in the entire world, way more than Saudi Arabia. So given all of the videos that we have from 2016 of Trump bragging about how he was going to, as president, take the oil. Remember all these videos? Syria, take the oil. Iraq, take the oil. Is it really that surprising that his real motive for going into Venezuela is the same in 2025 as it was in 2019, which is to take control of oil? Think. Earlier this year, well before this narco-terrorist narrative had emerged as the justification for all this military action, Trump was already starting to squeeze Venezuela's economy by threatening a 25% tariff, just blanket 25% tariff on any country in the world who dared to buy oil from Venezuela. And what kind of baloney is that? And as recently as this week, if you watch that just humiliatingly bad 60 Minutes puff piece they did because they were afraid to get sued again by Trump, Trump said in that interview, Maduro's days are numbered, signaling clearly his intent to carry out regime change. Again, this ought to be alarming to people who claim to be small government conservatives or people who like to pretend that they're, defenders of the U.S. Constitution. Without authorization from Congress, the U.S. president isn't just using the power of the U.S. government to try and choke the Venezuelan economy to death. I mean, what's he doing? When you try and choke, when you use a government to really inflict pain on a government through hurting their people economically, causing them to go without food, causing the cost of heat to go up so that they can't heat their homes in the winter and things like that. What are you really trying to do with that? The goal is to provoke civil unrest. Civil unrest where the people get mad at their own government saying, you've got to do something. So that people rise up. It makes them easier to agitate and get them mobilized against their government so that the CIA can help to carry out a coup. So you've got this economic warfare that he's committing against Venezuela. You've got the military that he's using to kill random Venezuelans. Many of them are probably innocent people. And if you're the president of Venezuela, even if you're corrupt like Maduro, that's got to sting that another country is just killing your people and getting away with it. Then you've got Trump trying to scare the crap out of Maduro by flying stealth bombers, these things that could be carrying nuclear bombs, flying over Venezuela to try and... What's he doing? He's trying to provoke Maduro into doing something back. That's the goal. Just like the goal was the goal with Iran was to try and provoke Iran to do something, to strike a U.S. military base over there in the Middle East or something, so that we'd have justification to go and attack Iran because, hey, they attacked us. They killed an American soldier. We have the right and the duty to go attack Iran now. But Iran didn't take the bait. That's what they're doing now with Maduro. They're trying to provoke him. Now, if Maduro does take any significant action in return, that gives Trump the pretext that he wants to go in guns a-blazing, which is his quote. And he can go and tell the American people, look, heinous act of whatever, Gulf of Tonkin, we were attacked. We were attacked. The U.S. Navy was attacked. Therefore, we're launching the Vietnam War. False flag. That's what Maduro has been saying. He's shouting out there, saying, we expect the United States to carry out a false flag against us to try and get justification for full-scale invasion of Venezuela. That's what Trump wants. That's certainly what Trump's financial backers want. And that's the course that they would probably take if they can't get Maduro to act. If you can't get him to act, then you just frame him. Now, before I move on to the next topic of Nigeria, I want to remind you guys once again of the playbook that is used by the globalists when it comes to this kind of geopolitical activity. And I have repeated these steps so many times over the years. Some of you probably know them by heart. First of all, the true evil in the world are these mega investors, these globalists. They can be American citizens. They can be non-U.S. citizens. But filthy rich people who operate at a level that we could not fathom financially. They make their money from the business of war. They make their money from the theft of natural resources from other countries. They identify markets that they want to go into, but they haven't been able to go into on their own. That's the first step. The mega investors who want to make money either from war or through the theft of resources, they identify which markets they want to move into, but haven't been able to do it on their own. Number two, the financial ambitions of these financial elites, these mega investor class. Them and the bankers that loan them money and make money along with them. Their wishes are communicated to the policy wonks at the Council on Foreign Relations. The CFR is that Rothschild think tank that takes the wet dreams of these financial elite, turns it into ink, and comes up with a specific policy roadmap for how to get them what they want. Okay. Third, the CFR, which is just brimming inside the U.S. State Department. The CFR uses the State Department to translate this policy proposal that they've written and turn it into actual U.S. policy. And those policies take advantage of the financial might of the United States government, of our treasury system, of our central bank, the Federal Reserve. And they use the U.S., the State Department takes this power over American commerce and banking, and they use that power to try and strong arm the target country into compliance with whatever it was that the CFR was saying we need to do. For example, if you have a set of State Department policies, it may do something like this, might push a country, say Syria, to allow for the construction of an oil or gas pipeline across their territory, even if it's not in their interest. Or the State Department might press a foreign state to open up its natural resources for exploitation by U.S. investor corporations, something like that. That's the third step. Fourth step is if this recalcitrant target country does not comply with the U.S. State Department's decrees, if the sanctions, the threat of sanctions aren't enough, then you actually go forward with the economic warfare. The State Department implements various forms of economic warfare. Trade restrictions, sanctions, threatening other countries from doing business. We will punish you, Russia, UK, whoever. We will punish you if you do business with this country because we're trying to bring them to heel. Fifth, if the target country continues to resist the U.S. Demands, That's when things really start to get dirty. That's when the enforcement arm of the CFR goes into action. Tell me in the chat, does anyone remember what is the enforcement arm of the CFR called? I'll give you a second. Somebody tell me. Might have a little delay here. The CIA. Jamalo got it first. The CIA. The CIA will try to coerce key politicians in that target government. They use honeypots to try and gather sexual compromise to blackmail them with. They will use financial bribery, favors, all kinds of things. If they have to, they'll use outright intimidation or threats to either that politician or to his or her loved ones. And then the CIA can also bring in on a higher level, they can bring in economic hitmen to do damage to the financial power structure of that country. And in even dirtier cases, the CIA will dispatch assassins to go do dirty work. They make the Jason Bourne movies are you got the hitmen going around, and that's very sensationalized, but it's not. Take the Hollywood out of it. That's what happens. You have intelligence agencies that send contracted assassins out to do hit jobs. Mafia calls it wet work. Thank you, Joseph Roberts. Appreciate you, my friend. So Maduro actually survived several assassination attempts by the CIA during Trump's first term. So did Hugo Chavez. I think they eventually got him. I think they eventually killed him with, what was it? Was it cyanide poisoning, or it was some kind of poisoning? He went to Cuba and was trying to get treatment. It took a while. He survived a lot of assassination attempts, just like Castro had survived a lot. And now Maduro has survived some assassination attempts. Now, if you have, the assassinations don't work, you have funneling black ops money into extremist-linked NGOs, non-government organizations, that operate under the color of, some beneficial organization, nonprofit type thing, when really what they're doing is working with some really bad people. You use black ops money, funnel it from the CIA into these NGOs who are on the ground working with the angry segments of the population. And they are the ones who do the grassroots work of mobilizing people into the streets, which you exacerbate and provoke into mass rioting. And that's why I told you guys, stay the hell away from those January 6th event, the speech. I was saying, as much as I would enjoy going up there just for the fun of it, I'm staying away, and I encourage everyone else to stay away, because they're going to make that thing go hot. That is exactly what you do. You take a group of people who are already pissed about something, you put agitators among them, you activate them, and it is very easy. When you already have a crowd that's hot and pissed off and feels like they've been taken advantage of, it doesn't take any effort at all to manipulate them into carrying out some kind of violent action. We've seen it over and over and over again. We saw the CIA instigate the 2014 coup in Ukraine, in Kiev, using neo-Nazi extremists that were brought in by some NGOs. We know that the CIA backed the terrorist groups in Libya to overthrow Gaddafi. We know that the CIA backed terror groups in Iraq and Syria to try and topple those governments, because they were not complying with U.S. government commands to turn over their resources. We've seen this. How do we not recognize it when it's happening inside our own country? Jeremy Russell says, "Cheers, Professor Blackstone. Hope you had a happy Halloween with the fam. Jeremy, thank you, my good sir. I did. I had a great time. Maybe I'll talk about it at the end. Thank you for your donation, my fine friend. All right, number 6. If the target country is able to stave off the coup attempt by the CIA, the last option, the option of last resort, is you bring in the U.S. military. You concoct some BS excuse for why the USA has to send in the U.S. military to topple the target government. And typically that excuse for war is wrapped up in the propaganda of fear, which is something that I love studying. In fact, my persona, the professor Blackstone, is a specialist in psychotronic warfare and psyops, and that's his thing. Very, very interesting subject. The psychology of fear and how you can use it to manipulate people into doing things that they, in their right minds, would not do. But that's what you do. You need to take the U.S. military. Nothing else has worked. We can't get rid of this. We can't get control of the oil. Fine. What is it that we can use to scare the hell out of our people so that they will support us in doing whatever it is that we want to do? What lie can we tell them? Maybe something like this. If we don't go topple Saddam Hussein, instead of seeing smoke rising up from the Twin Towers, we are going to see nuclear mushroom clouds over American cities. You must support U.S. invasion of Iraq. We're going to go in. We will be beloved and received with flowers as liberators, and we'll be in and out. It'll be that quick. But we have to do it to protect our people from dirty bombs given to Al-Qaeda by Saddam Hussein, because he's got so many weapons of mass destruction. It was all BS. It was all lies. There's no truth to it. But it scared the American people. 70-something% of the American people, a combination of Republicans and Democrats alike, said, you know what? I'm just going to trust my government. That scenario of nuclear bombs going off in America is so frightening. We're just going to trust them to do the right thing. Now, what's something else? You need to eliminate Syrian President Bashar al-Assad because why? Why do we need that? Because he gasses his own people. Look at these images of the little children, their last gasps as they've got white bubbles coming out of their mouths, foaming from the gas attacks by Assad. It doesn't matter that we can prove that it was al-Nusra that did some of this. The people who were led by the guy who is today the president of Syria. Or we have to support Israel's genocide of Palestinians because those dirty Muslims want to behead Jewish babies. They've 40 Jewish babies cut off all their heads. They just want to kill all the Jews. One would think that given so many examples of this cycle of war propaganda that today's so-called patriot community hears and has seen, that they would be more alert so that they could call out whatever tyrant in our own White House is putting, what's left of it, is putting American lives at risk to benefit the investor class. But that's not how it works. That's why psyops are so freaking dangerous. Because it takes otherwise intelligent people. It tells you what you want to hear. I long ago gave up any confidence that our own, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, doesn't matter, our own people, I gave up confidence that they would be able to recognize when they were being manipulated by well-crafted psyops. Because all you really have to do to get the right-wingers to betray their own values and go along with unjust wars is you just wrap the propaganda up in red, white, and blue and give them an enemy to hate. And that's not hard to do. Well, that brings me to Donald Trump's threats of war against Nigeria. And for the sake of time, because I've already gone on longer than I intended, I'll just gloss over this one a little bit. The principles are the same. America is not being threatened by Nigeria. Americans do not need the U.S. president to invoke emergency war powers. There is no immediate threat that is so dangerous to our homeland that there's no time to allow the American people to discuss it with our congressional representatives. There's no time to allow them to debate the issue in Congress or vote to authorize war. No, when it happens, Donald Trump's just going to go in and do it on his own. So when did this Nigerian stuff really get started? Just a couple days ago on Halloween night, which is kind of appropriate given that jack-o'-lanterns are the same color as Donald Trump's face. But Donald Trump publicly warned that he was thinking about sending the U.S. military into Nigeria to save Christians. That's the cover story. Because, of course, the U.S. Constitution explicitly says, I'll turn to the page and prove it to you. The U.S. Constitution says that presidents must have formal declarations of war from Congress unless there are Christians dying somewhere in the world. And in that case, the president, as the Lord's Messiah of the last days, possesses the inalienable right to attack any nation he damn well pleases. I mean, it's in the Constitution. If you don't believe me, buy one. $6. I'll send it to you. I swear. So let's unpack this Nigeria story, starting with Trump's actual quote. Let me pull this up. All right. Trump said, quote, this is what he wrote. Sorry, it's hard for me not to chuckle. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attacked our cherished, all caps, Christians, exclamation point. And then in all caps, warning, the Nigerian government better move fast. And then in his own words, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, this is what he wrote. He said, the Department of War is preparing for action. Either the Nigerian government protects Christians or we will kill the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. Anyway. So I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that former reality TV star Donald Trump and his newly dubbed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who is a former Fox News personality, they're both so deeply devoted to Jesus Christ that we should completely ignore their histories of sexual assault. Sure, after being, found guilty by a jury, Donald Trump was ordered to pay his rape victim over $88 million, and Pete Hegseth paid his own sexual assault accuser $50,000 out of court to shut her up. But surely the Lord doesn't want us to question the actions of these godly warriors for Jesus, right? But I digress. I hope you guys, right, that are, in part of the Christian community, I hope you realize that they are just using this stuff to manipulate you. I hope you see it. If you don't, please trust me on this. These are not people that care about Jesus or Christianity. They're using it to manipulate you, just like so many of the Zionists will cite Bible scripture, or actually, they don't actually cite what the Bible says. They twist what the Bible says and reinterpret it to justify things like, oh yeah, all the land is ours. We're the chosen people. Give it to us. And American Christians over there, you guys need to support Israel because that's how you fulfill your obligations to God. It's all just, using your faith against you. So please, wake up. Don't let them manipulate you. Okay, Nigeria. Trump's interest in Nigeria is really about, drum roll, oil. Not about Christians. Nigeria is the largest oil-producing nation on the continent of Africa. We've already got several U.S. oil corporations like ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips. They have billions of dollars invested in Nigerian oil. The majority of that oil, if you look at Nigeria, the majority of the oil is located in the Niger Delta, which is Nigeria's southern oil-producing region. They produce a ton of oil, about 2 million barrels of crude per day, which makes up about 90% of Nigeria's export earnings. So this is huge for Nigeria. And then when you go off the coast of Nigeria, you've got the Gulf of Guinea, which is one of the most strategically important maritime corridors for the United States and for Europe's energy security. So it's very important to protect this region's pipelines, the refineries, the export terminals. And that's why it has been a priority for a long time now for both the U.S. Navy's AFRICOM, which is the Africa Command Center for the U.S. Navy, and for the CIA's regional field operations. They've been there in Nigeria for a very long time. And I've been reporting on CIA activities in Nigeria for over a decade. U.S. government, how do they frame it? They say these CIA operations, when they talk about it at all, because they really don't want you to know what our CIA is doing over there. But when it does come up and they have to address it, they frame these CIA ops in Nigeria as counterterrorism, primarily against a group called Boko Haram, that the U.S. claims is a threat to the oil pipelines and our energy security and so on and so forth. But that's not really true. The oil fields are in the south. Boko Haram operates primarily in Nigeria's northeast. So they're not even in the same region. Now, it is true that from time to time, they have targeted oil infrastructure. They've hit pipelines. They've killed energy workers, kidnapped them to cripple Nigerian government's main source of income because they want to topple the government and hopefully drive the Western imperialists out of their country. They don't want us there. And Boko Haram is a terrorist group. Don't think that because I'm speaking out against Western imperialism in Nigeria that somehow that means I support Boko Haram. I don't. The kidnappings of girls and some of the stuff they've done is just absolutely atrocious. And do they kill Christians? Yes, they do. There are different Islamist groups that do that. So that's not the issue. The issue is, what is the role of the United States there? So the ongoing presence of Boko Haram is actually a huge help to the imperialists, because these little attacks that they carry out provide the West with the pretext that we need as a government to justify maintaining a really big military and intelligence presence in and around Nigeria. So we need Boko Haram to do this. We need that so we have justification to be there. If there's no threat, then we don't need to be there. Right? If there's no crime in your neighborhood, you don't really need a bunch of cops hanging out there. Where do you send the cops? You send the cops where there's crime. At least that's how it, would make sense. So having the U.S. military and the CIA in Nigeria, it provides muscle that allows these Western oil corporations to operate more freely inside Nigeria, so they can continue to expand, so that they can increase control over Nigerian oil supplies. Now, that's good in one way, in that it reduces some of America's dependence on Middle Eastern oil, but it also is a great benefit to these Rockefeller oil corporations like ExxonMobil and Chevron. So that's really at the heart of this. In other words, this alleged war on terror, and this predates Trump by years and years. We've been there doing this for quite some time. Trump is just the latest tool that is being used by the deep state to accomplish that. He's just a deep state puppet. This alleged war on terror, the U.S. fight against Boko Haram in Nigeria, it functions as a pretext to further entrench the U.S. military and our intelligence powers, and as a lever to open greater access to oil for American oil corporations. So what it does is it blends together the private economic motives of the investor class that I've been talking about all this time and their bankers. It blends it together with covert military power. And this has the effect of blurring the line between what our government tells us they're doing, which is defending national interests, and what it is in reality, which is the pursuit of imperial-style resource control. That's what it is. Now, I've talked about Boko Haram off and on for years, just here and there. But the fact is, it's not just Boko Haram that's an issue. The CIA tries to manage these terror groups in the same way that they tried to manage the terrorists in Syria, with similar results, being that the major groups, will splinter into smaller factions. So in addition to Boko Haram, you've got Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, as well as various ISIS affiliates that are operating there. They're a lot smaller than Boko Haram, but they're there. The CIA and AFRICOM have established, using this as justification, they've established an ever-expanding network of bases and intelligence sites because they got to be there to fight these groups, right? And the sites, crazy thing is, the places that AFRICOM and the CIA are setting up their bases, it's not embedded among the Christian communities for some reason. Even though the Christians have been getting attacked for years, where are they setting up? They're peppered along a corridor that stretches from the Atlantic coast all the way to the edge of the Sahara that just happens to line up with key oil routes, pipeline zones, maritime shipping lanes that feed Western energy markets. So they're there for oil. The area in the Gulf of Guinea, in fact, where a lot of West Africa's offshore oil is produced and gets sent out, the Pentagon describes it as the new Persian Gulf, is what they call it. So it's not terror groups that the USA is afraid of. We are not afraid of Boko Haram. We're not worried about them killing Christians, at least not as far as U.S. policy is concerned. What we're afraid of is China, our main economic adversary in the world, that is on the ascent economically as a major power and is going to dwarf us before too long. They have spent the last decade building deep inroads into West Africa under their Belt and Road Initiative. What they do is they go into these nations, and we're talking about Nigeria. They have funded ports in Lagos. They have built railways across Nigeria, energy infrastructure from the Niger Delta all the way up. And Beijing, their approach is different from ours because they rely on mutual benefit. They are building infrastructure inside of Nigeria for them in exchange for oil deals. So in exchange for these long-term oil deals, China builds them roads, power plants, they give them economic loans, and so on. So you can clearly see there's a tangible reason for Nigeria to be giving favorable deals with China. But the USA does not offer that kind of infrastructure development. We're not doing that. What is it that we offer? Why are they helping us? We offer military and intelligence presence to protect the government from being toppled by extremist groups. Now, are you seeing why we spent so many years in Nigeria and just can't seem to get rid of these terrorist groups? It's because the presence of those very groups are what justifies American muscle being there. We've got permanent drone bases in the region, like Air Base 201 over in Niger, So for our drones to protect Nigeria, what do we need? We need expanded overflight rights so we can cross over Nigerian airspace. What comes along with that? With the airspace control, the CIA not only gets to monitor terrorist group movements, but they also get to monitor Chinese commercial operations, shipping routes, telecom networks. It's great for our intelligence community. This is basically a form of soft containment in our geopolitical chess match against the rising might of China. So, are Christians being killed in Nigeria? Yes, they are. By the very terror groups that American presidents, including Donald Trump, have continued to allow to remain? Yes. I do not believe for an instant, and neither should you, that Donald Trump wants to go into Nigeria to wipe out these terrorist groups. We don't want that. If we were to wipe out these terror groups, there would no longer be a threat posed to the Nigerian government that they might be toppled. Therefore, there would be no justification for our huge military and intelligence presence there, which would allow China to come in and take control through contracts and working smartly with the government the way they've been doing, take control of resources that we currently have control of, because China is actually offering something of value to Nigeria. If you get rid of the terrorist groups, they don't need us anymore in Nigeria. So what it is to be gained by Trump's saber rattling? What is this Nigeria mess about? Trump's modus operandi is to use threats and bombast to scare target nations into concessions. We have seen this over and over and over again. That's why they call him, what is the thing? Taco Trump, because he always chickens out. He tries it, and if it works, great. Sometimes people will back down, give him what he wants. But most of the time, he will back down when he sees it's not going to work. This is described in his book, The Art of the Deal, which I have read over and over. It was ghostwritten for him, but it's his ideas. And he tells you in it bluntly, his art of the deal, his form of negotiating is you give nothing to the other side, but you bully your opponent into giving you everything you can. Squeeze everything you can out of them. And whatever you do get, even if it's not the main thing you were after, if you get anything for the sake of your reputation, you take the win. That's what he was telling Putin. Remember not too long ago? I don't understand, Putin, why you won't just take the win. Because that's how he thinks. It's about PR. It's about maintaining this aura of invincibility and domination. So you take the win, even if it's not at all what you wanted. Because it's better to claim victory than to look like you came out a loser. And that, if anything, is his kryptonite. Donald Trump cannot handle being seen as a loser on anything. That's why he projects so much when he talks to the media. You're a loser. You're stupid. You're this. You're that. So Trump is after increased leverage over Nigeria's energy markets, primarily for the investors who he's linked to. Okay, so this is really about benefiting investors, people linked to him and to his companies, to various businesses. He will push for new contracts from the Nigerian government that will benefit our vast military-industrial complex. Guaranteed, he is going to be pushing for that. He is going to demand that Nigeria reduce its cooperation with China, again, for the benefit of Western corporations, particularly in the energy sector. And the fact is, even though it's only been a handful of days, Trump's pals have already netted huge windfalls from this Halloween threat that he made, because his announcement triggered massive movements in Nigeria's financial markets. Because investors were like, holy crap, he's going to attack Nigeria. Even if he doesn't follow through, the threat of it, there's probably going to be some changes. So we're going to start moving some of our portfolio around in anticipation that the Nigerian government's going to have to try and stave off U.S. intervention. So you've got Nigeria's sovereign bonds and their asset prices. They immediately fell. I saw that in the news the next day or two. And that increased Nigeria's borrowing cost. It increased leverage, though, for Western investors and companies that have been trying to get Nigeria to go along to get into financial bed with them for years. Suddenly, they've got more leverage. Now, if the Nigerian government starts to cut deals to try to prevent this war that Trump is threatening, it's going to benefit U.S. bankers. It's going to benefit U.S. hedge funds, excuse me, and so on, so that financial interests tied to the region are going to profit from this. So far, Nigeria has been kind of stubborn about it. They've been defiant. One thing that Trump wanted them to do was cancel a $2.25 billion bond sale. Nigeria they want to avoid having to turn to globalist bankers, particularly to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, or to the U.S. Federal Reserve. They don't want to have to borrow from them because if you do that, you're screwed. Those organizations start bleeding you dry. So what Nigeria did, and they had before the Halloween thing, they had already voted and passed this to pack a lot of their debt into bonds and sell them as bonds to raise money. Most countries do this. The United States does it. That's what you do. And that's what they were going to do. They were raise a couple $1 billion this way. And this gave them, or would give them, billions of dollars in hard currency reserves and would reduce their reliance on the USA's central bank and on potentially the IMF. So Trump's team wanted them to not go through with that. They wanted to have to be they wanted our central bank, the IMF, they want to be the ones to be able to loan money to Nigeria when they need it. Now, had Nigeria turned to the USA or the IMF for money, it'd make it far more susceptible to demands from Washington on things like oil sales. Stop selling to China, sell more to us at a better price. You have to buy more arms from Lockheed Martin, from Boeing, from Northrop Grumman, all this stuff, so on. Okay, so this is all deep state. Patriots talk about the deep state until their guy is one of the major players in it on behalf of the deep state. And then suddenly they're like, you got TDS. Yeah, I got TDS. It's called Traitor Detection Syndrome. And those of you out there who stand by a tyrant like, whether it's Trump or whoever comes next, sorry, you get a tongue lashing from me. Because I am not beholden to either party. I don't give a crap if you got a big R or a big D next to your name. You mess with the rights of the people, and I will speak out against you. Now, if basically, just to summarize this with Nigeria, if they had not gone forward with their Eurobond sale, it would have been, in effect, a form of self-imposed sanctions to try and reduce the risk of Trump attacking their country. But so far, so they went forward, they did their sale, they actually had more demand than they could meet. So good for Nigeria, I say. But there's no telling how Trump is going to respond to this defiance. He's got control over the minds of America's patriots, which means he is free to violate the U.S. Constitution at will, attacking any country he wishes, whether that country is Iran or Venezuela or Nigeria. And that, my dear friends, is what's going on with Venezuela and Nigeria in a nutshell. Hope that was informative. And that's all I'm going to say about that, at least for tonight. All right, what do you say we give out a prize? We're going to do a prize. Let me take a look here real quick and see. I don't think that anyone made a donation through CashApp. I did get some new subscribers on Substack. let me put this out there again. Let me put the links in the description here, or into the chat. Sorry. Okay. BlackstoneIntel.substack.com. Go there, become a free subscriber, at the least, hopefully a paid subscriber. If you prefer, I also post my reports to Patreon. If you become a supporter of $5 or more a month, come on, guys, $5 is I know it's in the scheme of things with the economy the way it is a commitment. But I'll bet a couple of you could swing it to support this kind of work. I hate to disappear sometimes for weeks at a time, but unless this is financially, I make enough money from reporting and selling my reports and all that. I've still got to put a lot more time into other business ventures that I have. But anyway, there's Patreon. Some people prefer to do Buy Me a Coffee. Some people prefer to do PayPal. There are those links. And finally, even though I don't have links for it, if you do CashApp or Venmo, my my name on both of those that you can look up is Jake Blackstone 333. So on Cash App, it's the $ Jake Blackstone 333. On Venmo, it's at Jake Blackstone 333. People have trouble with my name spelling Morphonios. Always get it wrong, so Blackstone's a lot easier. Anyway, those are the options. Okay. I am going to take a second here to fill out slips. So bear with me. And also recognize the people that did the donations. Let me look here. For tonight, we will use this popcorn thing. To put the slips in. All right, we have got Dell Rough 1, Dell Rough 2, Dell Rough 3, Dell Rough 4. Thank you, Dell, very much. Gina. Thank you, Gina. R Factor. R Factor 1 and R Factor 2. Then we've got Joseph Roberts 1, Joseph Roberts 2. I don't have my reading glasses on. Like, these aren't real glasses. So my handwriting's going to look pretty sloppy. Jeremy Russell 1. Jeremy Russell 2. Jeremy Russell 3. Jeremy Russell 4. And Jeremy had said earlier, hope you had a happy Halloween with the fam. Yeah, I had fun. Took my girls out. My wife was sick. Poor wife was feeling so awful. So I set up outside, had my 14-year-old man the table to start giving out candy. Our neighborhood gets so many trick-or-treaters. We get between 700 to 1,000 kids on Halloween night. I took my 5-year-old twins trick or treating. They were both bats this year. Super cute. Took them trick or treating. Then I came home, took them inside, and then I was dressed as my Dr. Victor von Blackstone character from one of my other things that I do, and I had a whole table set up with stuff. Maybe in my next stream I'll show you some pictures from that. But it was really nice. Hope you guys had a good Halloween too. All right, New Jersey Devil. Thank you, New Jersey Devil. Appreciate you. All right. And then what else do we have? Let's take a look here. That outfit is on point. It would make so much more sense if I explained to you guys what I do with my... I've got a whole other thing that I do on the side. I haven't started doing videos yet, but I've got something, and I don't know. Should I tell you? I try not to intermingle my my other kind of social media shtick with my Blackstone intelligence work, because the other thing has nothing whatsoever, nothing at all to do with politics. And that's important to me. In fact, if someone tries to discuss politics with me on the other stuff, if they know me, know that I, talk, nothing. They won't, I will not say anything pro-Trump. I will not say anything against Trump. I am absolutely 100% politically neutral when it comes to this other business, and that's that. So if I do tell you some of this other stuff that I do, if you go there, you won't find that I you won't find that I talk politics there or anything about. I don't talk about Palestine. I don't talk about anything. Keep them separate. But anyway, so in 2012, I started something called Monster Fan Club. Monster Fan Club was born out of just as a kid, I grew up watching the old monster movies, Universal horror movies, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon was my favorite. As a kid, I wore, the 3D glasses to watch, some of the 3D movie events. And so I started a Facebook page years ago. Now I've got about 143,000 followers on it on Facebook. And on Instagram, I actually am more active on Instagram, even though I've got fewer followers. I've got about 31,000 followers on Instagram. But I get a lot more views. Last month I got around 20 million views on Instagram for my stuff. So what I do is I do short movie reviews. I post. I schedule them in advance, but I post about 4 to 5 short movie reviews usually with multiple pictures to go along with it, and it goes up now. I don't do it so much on Facebook, but because it's just I don't need to. But on Instagram, it's a younger demographic. On Facebook, they're boomers. Most of my followers on Facebook are older people. I'm talking about like 55 and up, the majority. So I can feed them the old black and white monster movies, 1950s sci-fi stuff, Forbidden Planet, all kinds of things like that, and they love it. Over on Instagram, they kind of like younger stuff. The demographic is mostly 35 to 55, male dominant, about 75% male. So I intermingle into that pictures of horror actresses who are kind of hot. I won't tell a lie. They're cute girls that are related to horror. And it's mostly the old stuff. I don't post gory stuff, bloody things. I just don't do it. I keep everything PG-13 or better. Anyway, Monster Fan Club 333. Whether you're on Facebook or on Instagram, if you go to Monster Fan Club 333, give me a follow. You're welcome to send me a private message. Say, hey, I saw you on YouTube, and I'll know other because I get a lot of new followers every day, and so I don't necessarily recognize who is from my Blackstone stuff. I have very few people following me from Blackstone. But anyway, my characters over there are twin brothers, Jacob von Blackstone, this guy, and a mad scientist named Dr. Victor von Blackstone, and they've got a whole deep, long backstory about their grandfather abducted by the Nazis, forced into doing experimentation, and how he escaped with the help of MI6, and the OSS tried to recruit him, and he turned against them. This whole backstory that is just fun for me. I enjoy that. But anyway, so it's if you are on Instagram and you want to follow, you're welcome to. It's I'll put it in the chat here. You will see a different side of me, it's very different from any of this Blackstone stuff. Very different. But I've got a lot of, I talk to a lot of people through there, a lot of people. I won't name drop, but people who currently have movies in the theater, the writers, directors. I talk to some really cool people because I guess they like my stuff there. And that's been really fun for me. But anyway, it's a business that I've built on the side where I get some money from it, and I'm going to expand into doing a YouTube channel as well, where I do monster horror, classic horror movie reviews. And I've already gotten invitations out of state to go attend some conventions as a character there, to go in costume and stuff like that. But anyway, you're welcome to check it out. Did anybody donate? I'm looking here. I don't see any more super chats. I'll read these names off to you again in a second, but I'm just checking. Did anyone make a donation through one of these other platforms that I'm not seeing? I could go check it, but I didn't get notifications. Ken says PayPal. Oh, you know what? I did get a notification here that must have come through just a minute ago when I was blabbing. Holy cow. Hey, Ken. That was awesome, man. Would you like, Ken, do this? Ken made I won't, in case he's doesn't want me to mention it, Ken qualified for one of the bonus gifts. So Ken, you can either tell me here or you can send me an email. Well, you know what? You got to give me your address regardless. So email me at jake@blackstoneintel.com. jake@blackstoneintel.com. If you want one of these other things, you can get either the Free Palestine support kit or the autographed pocket constitution. If you want either one, Ken, you just need to send me your address and what you'd like to receive. All right, so Ken. Geez, Ken, you get a bunch of entries. Ken. 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 I'll tell you what. If Ken wins the drawing, I will do a second drawing for others, okay? Because he's got so many, in here. He's got 10 slips entered in here. So if Ken wins, Ken gets he gets to choose the regular prize, but I'll do a second drawing so that others have a chance. And was there anyone else? Did I miss anything else? Thank you, Ken. You're very kind. All right, New Jersey Devil following on Facebook. You know, the crazy thing is, all of my Facebook, they keep changing the algorithm. On Facebook, pretty much every post that I did, we'd get over 1,000 likes, sometimes a lot more. But lately, last couple months, they've tweaked it to where now, like, even though I've got 140,000 followers there, I get fewer likes on most of my posts than I get on Instagram. It's just how they do their different algorithms on the different platforms. But they do take off. They go viral all the time. Usually at least one post a day will get over 1,000 likes on Facebook. But anyway, thank you, New Jersey Devil. Now it is kind of a high volume, so you may be like, oh, geez, I'm getting too many notifications about posts from Monster Fan Club. You can just change the setting. You don't have to unfollow. You can change the setting to where you don't get as many. I don't want to spam anyone. All right, so last chance here. While I am showing these and putting them in, we'll play a little music here. You'll have to let me know if you can hear this. And if you can't hear it, then that's just too bad, I guess. Oh, that's not loud at all. You're probably not going to hear that. Sorry about that. So it'll just be a little boring. Thanks again, Ken. Dell. Thank you, Dell. New Jersey Devil. Thank you, New Jersey Devil. You're awesome. Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. Joseph. Another one from Joseph there. And we've got R Factor. Another one for R Factor. Gina. Thank you, Gina. Another one for Jeremy. Dell. And one more for Dell. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Can you hear any of that? You probably can't hear that music at all. When I played it last time, nobody could hear it. Can anyone hear that? If so, it's probably really faint. It'll just tell me how loud it is so I can know next time how much to crank it up. I had actually set it to where it was a little quieter so it wouldn't be way loud, but I think I went way too low on it. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually, because this is too full to shake, I'm going to put all the slips of paper in here. Yeah, Joseph says it's quiet. Okay, that's all of them. Very low, yeah. All right, all the names are in there. Yeah, I'll fix that for next time. I'll fix the music for next time. Okay. Here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for. All right, I am not going to look. I'm going to reach in, grab whatever is the first one here. And no surprise, it's Ken. So, Ken, you get to choose one of the other prizes. So, that would be either an air freshener, a bracelet. If you're choosing the free Palestine kit, it's going to come with a bracelet. But I've got the air freshener. I've got the report of tonight's transcript where I can print it out, sign it, send that to you. Free subscription for a month to Substack or Patreon or channel membership. And I thought there was something else. You can tell me. But anyway, let me know, Ken, in the email which one of those you want. And then I'm going to close this back up, and we're going to do a second drawing. All right. Okay, here I go. Reaching in. And Jeremy is the wiener. Round of applause for Ken and Jeremy. Yay. And as I said, Jeremy, Jake at blackstoneintel.com. If you want to receive any of these prizes, all you have to do is email me and let me know which option you want. If you want one of those subscriptions, all I need is your email address. If you want anything physical, I'm going to need your, a physical address to send it to. So Ken and Jeremy. And for anyone else who was in tonight's drawing, if you did not win one of the main ones, but you'd still like to get a postcard from me, I'd be glad to send you one. Just email me your contact information at jake@blackstoneintel.com. And R Factor, let me know which topic. I owe you a report, so I can either, you just tell me which one. It could be tonight's, it could be a previous stream. I think that what I was supposed to send you was whatever the last stream topic was, but I didn't get it sent out and then forgot which one. I kept it here, but didn't know which one I was supposed to send. Anyway, sorry about that. All right, everyone. I hope that tonight was enjoyable for you. I enjoyed talking about these things. You have to let me know, it was the different lighting something that was annoying. I just tried something different. If it's too annoying, then I don't have to do the lights like this next time or whatever. Let me know out there. Sure do appreciate you guys. Let's see here. I'm not seeing anything in chat. Hello? Just checking to make sure that the chat's still active. It's like we've got 85 viewers out there at the moment. If you would, guys, if you haven't done it already, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. Speaking of crazy algorithms, stick it to the man. Give the stream a thumb up, and maybe it'll get pushed out to a few more people out there. One of the best things that you guys can do to support, other than making some kind of donation or subscription, is just sharing Blackstone Intel in social media to your friends. Because it really, I'm still on that blacklist, and it's hard to get the content out there to people when they're suppressing. So we got 99 likes. Let's get a couple more. Break 100. Joseph Roberts says, I'm out here. What would you like to see more of? As I do some streams this week, over this next 7 days, I'm hoping to do at least 2 more streams. What would you like? What things? Do you want more games, prizes, old video content? What can I provide you guys that you would enjoy? More just chit chat, shooting the breeze here with you guys in the chat? What would be motivating for you? What would you enjoy? Give me some ideas. My fallback is just to do what I do normally, which is, yap on and drone on about whatever geopolitical topic is on my mind at the time. Katie Cat says the light looks fine. Thank you, Katie Cat, for your mod assistance tonight. Sure do appreciate you. Joseph says current event stuff and geopolitics and stuff. All right. Okay. Current events. I sometimes wonder, am I just making my audience mad talking about things that, if I talk about geopolitics, and definitely if I talk about domestic politics, it's impossible to do it without, talking about the elephant in the room, which is Donald Trump. It just, you can't, it's like, how am I going to talk about football without talking about the team quarterbacks? Like, you just can't do it. Because they're calling plays and everything, but I don't want to overdo it and annoy people who are like, shut up already about Donald Trump. So I want to make sure if it was someone else in office, I'd be blasting that person too. I'm quite sure. But anyway, peeps are still here. Maybe everyone went for a bathroom break, says Katie Cat. And I've been told by several people that I have such a monotonous voice that it helps them to go to sleep, and they actually just leave either their TV or phone on and fall asleep to me yapping on about boring things like oil operations in Nigeria. What kind of person wants to hear about oil stuff in Nigeria? Well, you guys, apparently. Otherwise, you wouldn't be hanging out with me. Ken asks, any boots on the ground sometime in the near future? A couple months back, maybe it's been 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months back, I had someone who paid a consulting fee to take an hour and a half with me and someone involved in stock investing and looking at the tea leaves, trying to predict what's going on geopolitically, and that helps with considering investments and things. Anyway, person paid me some money, very nice guy, to talk, and we talked about some of these things. And at the time, I was saying I'm not really worried about Ukraine and Russia. Not worried about that. The thing that I worry about is Venezuela, because Trump tried to do this the first time around, and it fell apart. This is his last chance to get in there and do something in Venezuela. Just like in his first term, he threatened Iran. He took some actions against Iran. He couldn't provoke them, and so he just kind of let it go, because he had enough people around him who were saying, man, you are crazy doing this stuff. And he backed off. But in this second term, did he back off with Iran? No, not this time, because he doesn't have adults in the room anymore. He's surrounded by boot-looking sycophants who just tell him what he wants to hear. And that was by design, because he cannot countenance disagreement. He sees it as disloyalty. That's really the job of a good advisor, is to tell you the facts, even if they're facts that you don't want to hear, because it helps you to make good decisions. He doesn't have that anymore. He only has people around him who tell him everything you're doing and saying is good. Keep doing more of it. America loves you, and a lot of them will even say, you're doing God's work. So this time around, he has no brakes. He's like a semi-truck going down a mountain, and his brakes have burned out. So if he wants this time around to go into Venezuela and take their oil, you can be doggone sure that he is going to do some things this time around that he was not willing to do last time. And if Congress does not rein him in, and I don't foresee that happening, then he's going to hit Venezuela. If he can get the CIA to do it, if the CIA can assassinate Maduro, and they can get someone like Guaido in there, fine. But I think he learned the first time around it's just too big. The security apparatus around Maduro is pretty tight. There is a whole regime there that is corrupt, and you knock off Maduro, you're just going to get more of the same. They really need to go in and install an entirely new government, and you can only do that by putting the current government on the run. And the only way to do that is not with a CIA operation. It's with getting in there and carrying out a big operation. So I think that there is a fair chance that he is going to attack Venezuela. I don't necessarily think it's boots on the ground, at least not at this phase, because you don't need it. He'd carry out airstrikes and whack, or even just use the Navy out there, pop off tomahawks. There's all kinds of things that can be done to try and oust Maduro. And Maduro knows if Trump wants to go in and kill him, that's what's going to happen. So I think that there's a possibility that Maduro would make preparations for that eventuality and do like Yanukovych did in Ukraine when he saw the writing on the wall and realized, if I stay here and hold out, they're going to catch me and they're going to kill me, the people. So I think that Maduro might be tucking away the money and getting ready to hightail it if needed, before there would be a need for boots on the ground. We could have some small scale boots on the ground. Some strike forces going in, elite forces going in, carrying out operations. But there is a lively resistance movement there in Venezuela that is largely suppressed, that the CIA has probably over the last 5 to 10 years been spending a lot of time trying to nurture, and they could try and activate them. So we'll see. Katie Cat says, Obama started with Venezuela sanctions 2014. Trump is carrying the baton forward. Yeah, that's That's absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. Trump is a puppet of the deep state, and I know that Trumpers do not want to hear that. But if you were to take the name Trump away, and you just had a set of facts and said, if a U.S. president was doing this, and this, would you say that they are acting on behalf of the deep state? And they would say absolutely, because that's the very definition of a deep state puppet. But when you add the name Trump into it, suddenly it's, oh, no, no, no. For example, you've seen a lot of these, or I've seen a lot of videos lately where some liberal kid or somebody will pose as a reporter, go out there to Trumpers and interview them and say, what if a president had said this? Joe Biden said this. What do you think about that? Oh, that's terrible. He should be impeached. He belongs in jail, blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you, it was actually Donald Trump who said it, not Biden. Oh, well, in that case, it's okay because blah, blah, blah. That's the problem with partisanship, is that you become a tool of party ideology. It becomes tribalism, where you no longer care what's true. You see through a lens that is always gonna show you what you want to see. Whatever's gonna help your ego remain in that group that you're in. It's going to keep pumping you with that groupthink. You're going to keep defending your tribe because your ego is tied to it. If the group is bad, or if the leader is bad, if you accept that, that means you're bad. And people can't handle thinking that way. And so they will defend no matter what, to their dying breath. They will defend the indefensible so that their egos don't have to deal with the ramifications of, I was wrong about this. Venezuela, I think that Trump is going to get, at worst, silence from his base. Or I'm sorry, at best, he's going to get silence. Depends on whose perspective you're looking at. I don't think they're going to really speak out against him. And for those that do, I think it'll be like when he carried out the strike on Iran. Yeah, sure, you had some people who said, that's it, I'm fed up with Trump. This was the last straw. And it was for about 3 or 4 days, until everyone was like, all right, yeah, well, that was bad, but we still like him. He's still the best. That's how it'll be with Venezuela. Boots on the ground in Nigeria, I don't see. Because he doesn't actually want to. If the only reason to put boots on the ground in Nigeria would be to topple the government. And the government is simply not going to, they don't have the resources. They're not going to fight against the United States. It would never come to that. There's no reason to put boots on the ground in large numbers. There's already a U.S. military presence there. There's already the CIA in Nigeria. They can take care of things with drone strikes, with CIA ops, with backing. It could be like, oh, suddenly Boko Haram or these ISIS affiliates, they're on a roll and we can't stop them. Kind of like in Syria, where we kind of set back and let things get out of control. And for some reason, we just lack the ability to stop them. That's that. So Nigeria, no boots on the ground. I don't anticipate that. Let's see. I've got General Buck Turgidson saying, just donated $10, but it won't show for some reason. Username Viva El Opera. Okay, thank you. And New Jersey Devil gave a $2 donation there. New Jersey Devil. You devil. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. General Buck, it says you donated through what platform? Was it through who was it through? I'll look and make sure. And I see somebody, I think somebody became a new channel member. Oh, it's not showing me who right now. Turgidson. For you guys thinking oh yeah, thank you, General Buck. But you make sure and tell me which platform you donated through, so I'll know to look for it. And B Hobbit, or is that Bobbit? B Hobbit. I was thinking like Bill B for Bilbo Baggins Hobbit, but maybe it's just Bobbit. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate you. Katie says, Trump is losing his MAGA base. They now realize he is MIGA and not MAGA. Okay, you're the one, General Buck, that it's showing me here that I have a new channel member, but it when I click it, it doesn't let me see it without going to that page. So, all right, new channel membership for $10 a month. Thank you, General Buck. I will make sure and post some new content in the next day or two to the channel, so you've got some stuff there. Thank you. I appreciate it. B Hobbit. Thank you. Yeah, Trump is really one of the things that is, I think, going to do it for a lot of the Trump people is not even the geopolitical stuff he's doing, not the warmongering, not the deep state stuff. It's going to come down to what hurts them in their pockets. And we have approximately 13% of the country is receiving food stamps or SNAP. 13%. And the percentage, when you divide it up between the states, based on the ratio to the population, it's higher in red states. And beyond that, there's other kinds of federal assistance that people get. And I don't judge. When I was younger, when I was, a punk, young kid, I'm like, food stamps, you're living off the government, you're blah, blah, blah. I'm not that way anymore at all. Not one bit. Because the government takes so much from the people, our earnings, whether it's through income tax, other taxes, taxes by proxy through tariffs, everything else, to the point that this is wrong. And if the way that you get some of your money back, especially if you're struggling, is through the SNAP program, I don't judge at all. Not one bit. But my point is, they're saying that as a result of this government shutdown going on, in a nutshell, what the government shutdown is about is you have to have the U.S. Congress controls funding. You have to pass a resolution to allocate money to pay for government expenditures and obligations, like food stamps and things like that. You got to pay to keep the museums open. You have to have money. Now the Republicans want to cut, as part of this, while you've got Donald Trump going crazy building his White House palace with this massive ballroom, which is allegedly all the money supposed to be coming from his big corporate investors, which is also winning them government contracts, by the way. But he's doing so many things at taxpayer expense, but saying he's, cutting all this. In the process of spending all this money, he's also gutting certain programs, one of them being health insurance. And it's rough enough that we don't have a whole lot of choice over our healthcare system. Our healthcare system is abysmal. And I have struggled with it for years. Having 10 children, you think about the premiums with most health insurance programs. Of course, they don't all live with me now. Several have moved out. But, I had 7 kids in the house at one point. You got mom, dad, 7 kids, 9 people trying to come up with insurance. Very, very expensive, very difficult, especially when, I don't make a whole lot. I'm not a wealthy person. So I had insurance. They eventually come out with Obamacare and all this stuff. Eventually, I ended up with Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, and it was fine. It was with the kind of subsidies they give through the Obamacare exchange and all that, the Affordable Care Act. We could afford a decent Blue Cross Blue Shield policy that didn't kill us financially. And it was fine. And then freaking Joe Biden came in, and what they did, and I'm maybe sharing a little personal data here that I shouldn't, but based on the family size that I have and the income that I have, Biden came in and he wanted to, I am sure it was to try and buy votes for the election, is what it resulted, the kind of the net result. But he expanded Medicaid. I made too much money for Medicaid. But what he did was he raised the limit to where it brought in millions of people who had other insurance through the ACA and forced us into Medicaid. I didn't want Medicaid. And so I have had to switch everything, my primary care provider, the chiropractor I go to, everything had to change. And a lot of places, if you're forced onto Medicaid, they don't want to cover it. A lot of providers don't provide. So you end up with crappier options, and it sucks. And I'm like frickin' Joe Biden. I couldn't believe it when it happened. And I was telling my chiropractor, I don't get it. I don't qualify for Medicaid. How did they force me into Medicaid? I don't want to be on Medicaid. But again, based on the family size and everything else, and where my income limit was. So now, as it is, what Trump and the Republicans are trying to do is, in the name of saving money, they're going to slash funding for a lot of the subsidies that go to make healthcare, government healthcare, affordable for people. And in doing so, it is going to kick millions of people off their current insurance because they won't be able to afford it. I was listening yesterday to a podcast. It was a woman who currently already she's paying $495 a month for her insurance premium. What Trump and the Republicans are proposing, the result of that is it would raise her premium to $2,200 per month, way more than she's paying for her mortgage. That, folks, is not going to work for people. What it's going to do is it's going to end up leaving millions of people without health insurance. Heaven forbid you end up with some kind of crisis where you need something other than just, to go in to get some antibiotics for a cold that you have. It'll be devastating. And that's going to affect people that are diehard Trump supporters. Just like slashing as it is right now, they're saying that for November, at first what Trump was saying was that about half of the SNAP benefits are not going to be paid out. Now he's saying he wants to withhold all of it going forward until the government is reopened. So what's happening is the Republicans are saying, we are not going to reopen government unless the Democrats vote to go along with this huge slash in healthcare. Democrats are saying, we want the government open, but we are not going to be forced into voting to kick millions of Americans off their health insurance to save some money. So you have this impasse. You normally would normally need a supermajority vote, 60 votes in the Senate, to reopen things, pass. They can't do it. They can't do it. Not without utilizing what's called the nuclear option, which the Republicans don't want to do, but Trump is trying to force them to do it. Senate Majority Leader Thune is like, no, we're not going to do that. Because then the Democrats are going to turn around and do it to us because they see the writing on the wall. They know that the midterm elections, the Republicans are going to get shellacked. And then when the Democrats are in power, they're going to be using that nuclear option constantly to force their legislation through. So the Republicans know that this is going to happen. So they're like, well, we're not going to use it so that they don't retaliate when they regain power. So it's a big freaking mess. What's going to turn MAGA against Trump more? It's already eroding. The economy's already hurting MAGA along with everyone else. What's really going to do it is when red states start to find that they can't buy food because they're not getting the SNAP assistance, or just the cost of groceries continues to skyrocket because of Trump's tariffs, or they get booted off their insurance, or their insurance premiums double and it's a huge financial struggle. This is the most inept administration when it comes to the economy that I have ever seen in my life. Unbelievable. It's not even, it's so inhumane. There are so many. Do you see Trump cutting funding from military ventures to save money? Do you see Trump saying, let's cut back. Let's stop sending billions of dollars a year to Israel. Let's stop doing all of this investment for these Arab nations that we're trying to get their favor. No, there's so many ways of cutting money in ways that we don't need as Americans. We don't need yet another military base out there. There are 900 something military bases around the world. We don't need all that. Cut those things. Slash them. You don't need to be doing this. Let's restart nuclear tests. So everything all together, people are in trouble. Dire situations, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it will continue to get worse. Things are not going to get better for a while, folks. Even if Trump was suddenly to say, you know what, let me backtrack on all this stuff because people are angry and it's not looking good for the Republicans for the midterms, so let me try and turn things around. Even if he wanted to, it's a cyclical thing. It takes a while. It takes a while for things to adjust, just like it has taken a while for Trump's tariffs back from March to really start hurting people, as we knew it would, or at least as most of us that are open-minded knew it would. Likewise, it will take a full quarter at least before we start to see any significant relief, if there was to be some significant changes in Trump's economic policy. And I don't anticipate there will be. So anyway, no good answers. But I would rather have a functioning Congress where we can go back to the days of, as much as I despised Bill Clinton. There's probably some of you are not old enough to even remember. You're probably kids when Clinton was president. Bill Clinton was a despicable human being. But one thing that he did do was he worked with the Republican-controlled Congress on the U.S. economy. He agreed to welfare reform, where people had to start putting in more hours to continue getting government assistance. They had to show that they were either working or trying really hard legitimately to get work. There were all kinds of reforms that were made that were good for the economy. In fact, I think it was during Clinton's administration there was a year in there. It was the only time in modern U.S. history that we had a balanced budget, when we were not running a huge deficit. That's because the Democrats had a leader who he didn't want to lose either. Clinton bucked his own party, said, look, guys, let's work with the Republicans, get done what we can, because they've got the votes, and it's just going to come out looking bad for us. So let's just find ways that we can work together. And they did it. You've got the Republican Congress led by Newt Gingrich. You had the economic policies of John Kasich back then. A bunch of freshmen members of Congress came sweeping in the 1994 Republican Revolution. The contract with America brought a bunch of new blood in there. They took control of the House for the first time in 40 years, and they passed all. They passed in the first 100 days of that Congress. They passed 9 out of the 10 things they had campaigned on. The one thing they didn't pass, surprise, surprise, were term limits. They had promised to impose term limits on themselves, and they didn't do that. To nobody's surprise. But the Democrats and the Republicans worked together. They worked together on immigration reform. They worked together on crime bills. There's so many things where they fought. They were nasty with each other, and they fought. And out in the public, people like me, these Democrats and, liberals and socialists and communists, we had fun with it. But at the end of the day, we were friends. Not anymore, because Trump's method is divide and conquer. You don't just disagree with your enemies. You dehumanize them. You hate them. You loathe them. You accuse them of the worst things possible. And it's kind of reciprocal. I bash Trump over his policies, and I make fun of him over, silly things like his girly makeup he wears and his diapers and all that. But, for me, it's about what he does as president that is so bad, bad policies. And I think that's where our focus should be on, is on policies. But Democrats and Republicans, they hate each other right now. So much incivility. And I really think it's uncool. I think that it has been, I think that the era of Donald Trump has been worse for American society than any other time in American history. I think it's been more nasty, more divisive, more hate-filled than any other time. It's not all his fault. It's also the fault of the era we live in with social media. It's so much easier to spew hate. I used to be very, very active on Twitter. And I never post on Twitter anymore. It's just so hateful. That and the fact that nobody sees my stuff because I'm Elon Musk has me completely blacklisted. I can post something with 25,000 followers, and hours later I check, not one person has clicked like, left a comment, because it's not sent out. I'm shadow banned. But anyway, even before that, I had stopped posting because Twitter's so freaking nasty. And General Buck says the media hasn't helped either. That's right. The rise, one thing that has changed, and this happened primarily toward the latter end of the Clinton years into the early years of the George W. Bush years. That was the rise of corporate news outlets where it's very opinion driven. It's all opinion journalism. It's reporting facts, but mingled with being skewed and twisted and distorted to suit a partisan narrative. And it's terrible. What you have the corporate media, CNN, MSNBC, warping the minds of Democrats. You have Fox News warping the minds of Republicans. You've got the Rachel Maddows on one side and the Sean Hannitys on the other. And they are terrible for democracy. They are terrible for freedom of the press. And it tricks people into thinking, well, I heard it on Fox News, so it must be true. I remember the days when news reporting was there was integrity involved. Back in the days when you had three. Now, when I grew up, it was three main anchors. This is after the Walter Cronkite days. When I grew up, you had Peter Jennings at ABC, Tom Brokaw at NBC, and Dan Rather at CBS. There were three main ones. You didn't have CNN. You didn't have 24-hour news agencies. You had your nightly news and then some occasional news programs like 60 Minutes or 2020 or something like that. And now we've got just wall-to-wall, 24/7 opinion journalism masquerading as news, and it cons people into thinking that is legitimate. And so people were turning away in droves from corporate media and going to independent reporting, people like me. And I used to get way more views, consistently way more views on my channel talking about a particular topic. You go over to CNN's channel, I was getting more views than they were on every video. And then in 2017, after my my initial report on a second shooter at up in the Mandalay Bay, that the police were looking for a second shooter, that got so many views, millions of views in the first 24 hours. And the corporate media outlets complained like crazy. Wall Street Journal did a hit piece on me. And I think there were over 20, I've got screenshots of tons of these articles talking about how my conspiracy theory was getting more views than any of the major media outlets, which was true. If you type in Las Vegas shooting on Google, the number one result, the top ranked was Time Magazine, an article they did. Number two was me. And by the way, that Time Magazine article had me in it, quoting me in it. And then all down below, you had New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all of these others. They came below. So they complained. And the Wall Street Journal article about me was talking about that, about how YouTube was going to change their algorithm to suppress independent journalists and push corporate media to people. So it ruined it on YouTube. People still go to podcasters and independent, some independent journalists, but I think largely most of the people that have succeeded or outlasted others on YouTube are the ones that go to the fringes. They speak to the fringes. I feel like I speak out strongly against Trump, but I would speak out strongly against any president doing these same things. And I've always spoken out against Obama and Biden and anyone else. Strong critic of George W. Bush. And that's not popular with the algorithm. The algorithms favor people that amass a partisan following. And it just reinforces it when you've got financial incentive. There is huge financial incentive on YouTube to be either very pro-Trump or to be very anti-Trump. But not in the middle. Not in the middle where you're criticizing both sides. And that's from just a financial standpoint. That's my problem. Is that I don't try and build a following among the fringes on either side. I'm right here in the middle with you guys. Cam96, Jake, hope you're doing well, my friend. Been wondering why we haven't seen you. Here I am. Good to see you, sir. NDAA 2012 Smith Munt. All kinds of crazy stuff back then. Yeah, going back to the Patriot Act. The Silver Sailor. What's up, my good friend? From the far reaches of the earth. So glad to see you. What time is it over there? probably early morning for you. Anyway, well, for 2:37, that's later in the day than I thought. Planning any field work in the near future? Not really. Now, what I would enjoy doing if I get to the point where I've got enough of a following again, if I can break through, if I can figure out how to break through, like I've got 95 viewers right now, and I know it's close to 1 a.m. East Coast time, but that's been pretty typical since I started back a handful of months ago, where I've got around 100 viewers. I averaged around 1,000 to 1,500 viewers per live stream in the past. So this shows you how how much difficulty I'm having with this channel reaching people. If I can get to the point where I am reaching more people, then I'd like to start going out on the road, doing appearances around the country, speaking engagements, going around, organizing groups where I come to speak to a group, things like that. But as far as getting out there, going after the bad guys, I don't know. It left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. Having the FBI come after me was not fun. That took a toll. So probably not that. Nothing that's. I've got little girls at home, and I'm not gonna go after groups like I did or individuals in the past, like I did in the past. And put them at risk. It was one thing when the people were following me around and threatening me, but once they, there were some threats, involving my kids' names and things. I'm like, yeah, it got ugly. It got ugly. You've got a lot to lose when you've got kids at home. So anyway. After the Vegas series, you did your channel vanish from search unless subscribed. Yeah, that was it. They knocked me silly. In fact, what they did during that, it was the day I flew out to Vegas to start doing investigative work out there because I had tons of interviews lined up. And while I was on the plane, before I landed, they suspended my channel. And I found that out because after I landed, I went straight to the Mandalay Bay and was going to do some live reporting from there. And then I couldn't connect to my channel. And I looked it up, and they had given me 3 strikes. 3 random strikes. One was for the one where I said the police were looking for a second shooter, and that's true. And I later posted the audio, the police audio of them saying, keeping employees stuck in the Michael Jackson Theater inside the Mandalay Bay Casino. You can hear the police walking around telling them, no, you cannot leave yet because we are still looking for a second shooter on the 4th floor. So my reporting was 100% accurate. It doesn't matter if they actually found one, and truly it doesn't matter if there actually was one. What I reported was that police were looking for a second shooter. At the same time that the the Las Vegas Metro Police Sheriff, sheriff was out there saying it's all over, flanked by the Aaron, what's his bucket, the FBI guy, saying it's all over. We're not looking for anyone else. Like, that's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. You've got close to 1,000 people stuck in the Michael Jackson Theater, holding them all night long. They held them until daybreak, not letting, with the lights out. And I published some of those videos too, because some of the Mandalay Bay employees fed me the stuff. I interviewed, when I was out there, some of the people that were being held in the theater there. It's crazy. I mean, they were scared to death. They had cops all over at the doors. They thought that there was a whole team of people that was going around shooting. I won't say more about that, But these people were terrified, and the cops thought there were more shooters. Whether there was or wasn't, my reporting was accurate. And so they that's when they gave me the strike. They took away from me $14,000 that I had earned on those millions. I think it was 7 million views that I had in the first 48 hours on that. YouTube ran ads, so people saw ads when they watched my video, which meant I earned ad revenue, and it came out to around $14,000, and YouTube refused to pay me a penny of it. They restored the video after the Wall Street Journal article. USA Today did a story. There was enough pushback that they removed all 3 strikes. They gave me my channel back, but they confiscated the money, refused to pay it. And then later on, down the road, after I had published over 100 reports on the Las Vegas shooting, they came after me again. And among the things, and this was someone at YouTube told me, that the FBI had requested that some of my content be removed. And so I was told, you can either take the stuff down, or we're going to give you strikes and, just shut your channel down. So it was either I could delete the videos, or I could lose, being on YouTube at all. So I had to pull the videos down, because there was content in it that was exposing the FBI's involvement, and they did not want that out there. And they also wanted to shut me up because they knew what else I had, or they thought they knew what else I had, and they did not want it released. So anyway, do I want to go back to doing that? Not for what I get paid. Nope, not for what I get paid. Not worth it. Not worth it. Cam says, have any podcasts ever asked you on? I hear them talking about topics, issues that you've been on for years. I think if you were able to get on Sean Ryan, or I don't know whom would be a good fit, or if you would want to, I would do it. Yeah, I would. I have in the past. I haven't really done many guest spots since I came back recently. But I used to. I used to do shows all the time, go on other people's shows. But this, it's been a good while back. Who's even out there that would want me on? I don't even know. But I would, probably be willing, as long as it works out with my schedule. I'd probably be willing to go on most shows. If they're serious people, I want to talk with serious people. I don't want to go on shows that are just, partisan bickering, or just let's have a debate. Look, I want to have an exchange of ideas with people who want to learn. I want to learn from other people. I want to talk to people who are smarter than me, or who have experience different from my own. I want to learn and have conversations with people who have skills in other things, so that I can grow and learn. And I want it to be mutual. I want them to feel like, oh yeah, I got something out of talking with Jake. This was fun. I enjoyed it. All of this thing where people just want to figure out how they can cut each other off and set each other up with gotcha moments and sound bites, and, just spare me. I'm too freaking old for that kind of junk. I loved that kind of thing when I was younger. I was trained in speech and debate in school. I enjoyed it back then, just arguing for the sake of arguing. But I'm older now. Screw it. I just want to talk with people that are fun to talk to. Someone of the disposition of someone like Joe Rogan, who, whether he agrees with you or not, he pretty much lets you talk. He'll ask questions, he'll give his ideas. They don't have to agree, but for the most part, I'm not saying I would want to do Joe Rogan. I'm just saying someone who is open-minded, whether they agree with you or not is not the issue. It's whether or not you can exchange ideas. So anyway, internet search says, Jake, your volume is low. Sorry, I may be blabbering here because it's getting late. New Jersey Devil says, that doesn't sound legal. Pay up. Yeah, they took the money, they kept it, and I appealed, and they just would not respond. So I talked to an attorney, and the attorney said, look, if you want to try and sue YouTube, you will spend in the course of it all, if not more than $14,000, because they will just stretch it out. They've got attorneys on retainer for everything. They'll just litigate you out of your money. And so it would just be about the principle of the thing. And I wasn't interested in that. If I'm going to litigate, go to court, which I've done a number of times. I've won every court case I've ever been involved in, but I don't initiate court cases just for the principle of the thing. If I can go in and win a case and get something out of it, then I'll do it. It's about justice and getting what's owed to me, if anything. But I'm not going to go just engage in what a lot of these YouTubers do is they get involved in this lawfare because they've got weak egos. They just want to sue. They're petty, and they think they'll get clicks and attention because they're trying to sue somebody. It's stupid. Court sucks. I freaking hate court. But I grew up my grandmother was a judge, my uncle was an attorney, my stepfather was an attorney. I grew up with the law. And I got a pretty sharp mind when it comes to this. So all the cases I've won, I have done by handling it pro se, or in one case, I needed an attorney, but the attorney I wrote out the case as I wanted, and the attorney carried it out. Yeah, people like Max Blumenthal, Chris Hedges, Medhurst, yep. Candace Owens, she's a little extreme for me, but I talked to her, but she's a little bit on the wild side there. But I'd talk to her. Norman Finkelstein, he doesn't interview, but he is interviewed. Yeah, there are different people that I would enjoy talking with. But anyway, Amanda Rake says, good to see a stream after a long time. Michael says, I like Kim Iverson. Yeah, Kim seems, Kim is a good interviewer. She's open-minded for the most part. I don't think she always draws the right conclusions, but I think she's fair. Lex Friedman would be, he'd be someone that, exactly, constructive, intelligent conversation. Yeah, something like that. Anyway. Well, guys, I want to thank you one more time, everyone that supported during the stream. Thank you. Anyone that did make a donation, if you want a postcard from me, send me an email, jake@blackstoneintel.com. So much for this being an hour, although this is still a lot shorter than other ones. I don't even know. What is it? Yeah, we're coming up on 3 hours. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Not bad. So I'll be back in a few days. The best thing that you can do to find out when I'm going to be streaming next, and I will strive to do it earlier, is to go to Substack. That's Blackstone Intel, blackstoneintel.substack.com. Sign up there. Just put your email address in and choose what notifications you want to get, and I will keep you posted through there. And I will have, for tomorrow, I'll get the, it's kind of late, so I probably won't get the transcript up on Substack tonight, but I should have it up tomorrow. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me. If anyone wants to recommend some elements that you'd like to see in future streams, let me know. And we'll try and incorporate it. I just want to do what is enjoyable for you guys. And if you like me to just ramble, fine. If you want me to just take a whole stream and do nothing but sit here and chit chat in the with you guys in the chat, we'll do that. I probably won't do anything like strip teasing for your safety. I will not do that, I promise. But I don't mind incorporating some new elements into the show. If you have anything that you've maybe seen on another channel, like, oh, that's so fun over there, they do this, why don't you try that? I'm open to ideas. Just want to have a fun time with you guys. And anyway, so thank you so much. Have a great night. Sleep well. Get some good rest. Have fun tomorrow with whatever you do. And keep yourself wary of wolves in sheep's clothing who come telling you things like, we just want to go to war to protect the Christians and stuff like that. Don't let them trick you into supporting war. Don't let them trick you. It's a trick. It's a trick. It's a trick. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.